Now I want to show you how to load a data frame using the UCI Machine Learning Repository. The UCI Machine Learning Repository is one of the most popular machine learning repositories in existence. It is free to the general public and it has been around for a long time. To find it, simply go to a URL, open up a new tab for you, and type in UCI Machine Learning Repository. And when you do that, it should come up and you can go ahead and click on the link. Okay, so you should see a screen like this one. And note, if you look on the right side, the most popular data sets, number of hits since 2007. If you look at the first one, the IRIS data set, which I've shown you, that's over 4 million hits. These are all over 1 million here. So you can explore this on your own and try to find data sets that are interesting to you. There are a lot. There are hundreds. This is just the most popular up here. Let's consider car valuation. Maybe you like that one. So go ahead and click on it. And then what you get is a URL basically that tells you a little bit about it. There's some basic info. So this would be like the data source. It tells you the number of rows, that's the number of instances. Number of columns is the number of attributes. This is a big one, missing values, no. Good, that's good for you. We'll deal with missing values later. And then some other information. So I want to show you now how to load it into pandas. So you see our machine learning repository has like a couple of hoops to go through. First thing you want to do is click on the data folder. Okay, click on data folder, and then you typically want the .data file. Now, if you click on it, it's going to download to your local machine. And I'm actually going to show you how to do it using a URL. Not that you can't download it to your local machine. We'll look at that later. So, car.data. What you want to do is put that at the end of this URL. Okay? So copy this URL. Go to your load data frame notebook. Go ahead and give a new text header. We'll call this, give it a subheader. I was going to say GitHub, but it's actually UCI Machine Learning Repository. And go ahead and press Shift Enter to get a coding cell. Now remember, for the URL, okay, you did Command C to copy what was in there. You're going to Command V it inside of quotes. And then add an additional car.data. Okay. All right, so what do we do next? Even though you've probably already loaded pandas, for the sake of completeness, we'll go ahead and put import pandas as PD. And then pd.read underscore CSV note. So this is interesting, right? It's not a CSV file. CSV files will read these. Okay. And then, in parentheses, put in URL. And then finally, wait a minute. We need to assign that to the variable df. I'm getting ahead of myself, getting too excited. And then df.head. Okay, so those are the key steps that we're going to go through a lot. URL equals, import pandas as PD if you haven't already. Then df equals pd.read underscore CSV URL, then df.head. Okay, in fact, this can be copy and pasted. So press Shift Enter and see what you get. Now, this doesn't quite look right. I want to see if you can figure out what's going on. First take, you might think that didn't work. It actually did. I mean, it's loading as a data frame, but it looks weird. Let me suggest an improvement here. So let's try this. Next to the URL. So look, do you see all these options here? There are a lot of different options when you read in a CSV file. We'll just be looking at a couple. Header is one of them. Okay. So for header, you can write none. Now, if you press Shift Enter, it looks a little closer to the way it should. Okay. It's indexed, but the columns are not named. So the last thing would be, wait a minute, what are these columns? How do I name them? Okay, go back to the data source. So that data source is the far right of my tabs. Now that .names, if you click there, it's actually going to download it. I can tell you what I usually do. There's probably a more efficient method. Go back here, and they're usually there. Like if you scroll down, attributes, look, these are the column names. You see this? You've got the class values, which is at the end actually. It's the last column. That's often the one that you're trying to predict using machine learning. And then you have these different categories along with their values. So what I do is I copy it in, right? Go ahead and do this. And then what you can do is you can define df.columns equals, and it's a list, okay? Now I'm going to put everything into the list. And what we want to do is convert it into strings, okay? So these are the main strings. Buying, then maint, short for maintenance. That is a little tedious, okay? What you find is that with data analytics, when you're loading in data, sometimes there's a little work. Sometimes that work can take 5 minutes. And if you're unlucky, it could take 5 hours. And if you are really unlucky, it could take 5 weeks or more. Okay, messy data can be hard to properly load. We primarily look at data that's relatively clean, but we will also be looking at data sets with null values and some other issues, minor issues, so that you can get some experience in cleaning data, which is really important. Finally, this class values is actually the last column. And I know that because you see where it says unacceptable, acceptable, good, very good. Well, look at the last column. That's what they're giving us. And also that's different than the attributes. It's what you're trying to predict, and it should actually come at the end. Let's call it values. So by making those changes, by the way, this is really like a pain for you. Just note also you never have to use, well, I should say when it comes to your own project, you don't have to use UCI Machine Learning Repository. Get that last one in there. Okay, so basically I've reset all the column names under df.columns equals. You can do that at any time. That is how you rename the columns. If you don't like the way they're labeled, like maint, you could call that maintenance. You don't have to copy them exactly. So press Shift Enter. Let's see what we get. Yes. Now we have a data frame. It is looking good. So there you have it. This is how you access data from the UCI Machine Learning Repository. Have fun with it. Explore it. There's a lot of great stuff there.